Thank you for joining our Best Restored Shores Award ceremony. And I'm putting air quotes around ceremony today. I'm Shannon Kneff, and along with Pete Seidel, we co-chair the Best Restored Shores Award Committee for ASBPA. Now, this is a relatively new award, this being only the second year, and you may not be all that familiar with it. So let me spend just a couple minutes giving a little bit of background, and hopefully this will help you think about maybe whether you know a project that could be a candidate for it. And I encourage you, if you do, to apply. We'll talk more about that in a sec. So first, I think that we can all agree that managing a coastline isn't as easy as a walk on the beach. In fact, these days, it's even more complicated than ever because managers of coastal assets now have to consider and prepare for sea level rise and other climate change impacts. Now, ASBPA has long recognized the recreational and storm risk reduction benefits of beach nourishment and restored dune systems with its Best Restored Beaches Award. But the nation's coastline is comprised of far more than beaches. And so the ASBPA board agreed that we ought to have an award to complement the Beaches Award. So we created the Best Restored Shores Award, in part to encourage communities to act now to increase their resilience to these climate change impacts. So one way to prepare for climate change is to implement solutions that reduce storm or flood damages by restoring lost ecosystem services. The Best Restored Shores Award is intended to put the spotlight on these kinds of innovative, multi-beneficial tactics, in particular on low and moderate energy coastal environments. So we hope to encourage more natural infrastructure restoration and the use of nature-based solutions, in part by recognizing and rewarding excellence in employing these tactics. However, we also understand and want to recognize the time, expertise, effort, and resources that it takes to restore inland and bay shorelines. So we created this award to acknowledge that work, of the accomplished teams that delivered superior projects. So now let me give you a little bit of the inside scoop on what the Best Restored Shores Committee is looking for when it's reviewing the award nominations. So we evaluate several factors. So things like, is the project the right scale to address the stated problem? Were there any aspects of the project that were especially innovative? For example, how did the team overcome a challenge? Was there some aspect of the project that should be recognized in particular to encourage others to follow suit? Was the innovation could be engineering, it could be construction, it could be the use of volunteers, it could be, financial or, even private citizen leadership. We also look at whether partners were involved in the project. And perhaps even more important than that is, does the application convey a sense not only of the partnership and the cooperation, but joint or mutual enthusiasm about the project? So we also carefully consider whether there is evidence regarding the project's results. And I can't really emphasize this enough. We're not just looking for whether it was successfully completed, like how many cubic yards of sediment were put down or how many reef balls, but rather, is there proof that it's functioning as planned and is it achieving its stated purposes? So in other words, we're looking for monitoring results that will contribute to the body of evidence regarding the efficacy of natural infrastructure and nature-based solutions and documenting the multiple benefits that are derived from these approaches. So, without further ado, we have 3 2020 Best Restored Shores Award winners this year. The Stafford Point Living Shoreline Project in Connecticut's Housatonic River Estuary, the Gandy's Beach Preserve, and Cook's Beach, both on New Jersey's side of Delaware Bay. Now, since they all can't hear you clapping right now, and I'm sure you're clapping loudly, these virtual fireworks are about the best that I can do right now to celebrate. Hence the reason my air quote ceremony. Now, let me tell you a little bit about each of these projects, and especially what stood out to us, the committee. The Stratford Point Living Shoreline Project was chosen largely because it's an outstanding example of how to work with multiple partners and nature as well to solve shoreline erosion. So here, erosion was exposing wildlife to lead shot and other toxins. So the project's goal were to stop this exposure, reestablish wetland ecosystem services, and provide additional stability to that wetland to basically provide it additional time to allow it to migrate in response to rising seas. This project used a systems approach to develop its solutions, and it clearly demonstrated the importance of establishing shellfish reefs to protect newly restored salt marsh. Now, especially noteworthy was its well-characterized objectives, its long-term monitoring plan that demonstrated success, or at least success so far. And furthermore, the multiple funding partners were involved in this project, and they were critical to taking the project from concept to execution to achieve real environmental and coastal resilience outcomes. Our next winner is the Gandy's Beach Preserve Adaptive Management Project. Now, this project demonstrated ways to encourage shoreline stabilization by working with natural processes to ensure that the adjacent salt marsh areas continued to provide ecosystem services, including acting as the local community's natural buffer from storm effects. And of course, providing recreational opportunities that are important locally, but also for attracting tourism. The project's monitoring activities are demonstrating how strategically designed and deployed nature-based stabilization tactics are not only cost-effective, but they're cost-effectively affecting an area much larger than their footprint might indicate. So all this means is that it's building a higher level resilience for the area. Finally, the project continues to serve as an excellent demonstration to the region's bayshore towns that they too can undertake similar efforts capable of making a significant difference to their own shoreline, but to their region and to their resilience to rising stormy seas. Now last, but by no means least, is the restoration of Cook's Beach. Now this project creatively restored a shoreline so that it could continue to be a source of sand for other beaches while still retaining sufficient sediment on its own shore. Now, sediment was really important because it provides critical spawning habitat for horseshoe crabs and red knots, which is a federally listed threatened migratory bird, both of which are pictured here. Monitoring revealed that of all 8 beaches recently restored in Delaware Bay, Cook's Beach is now the one that's most used by foraging shorebirds, including the red knot. And this is largely due to the availability of horseshoe crab eggs in the surrounding shoals and on the now protected beach face. So if I didn't mention a second ago, pictured here are the horseshoe crabs and the red knots. So a big congratulations to each of the winning teams for their leadership, their creativity in design and problem solving, their perseverance, their dedication to data collection. And that dedication that yields and demonstrates the positive outcomes and the values that are derived from each of these projects. Now, due to COVID and our virtual conference, each of these award teams is receiving their award by mail, and I really regret that I'm not able to shake their hands, give them a pat on the back, and even raise a cold one with them afterwards to celebrate. But you can demonstrate your love right now by writing into chat a little word of congratulations, send it out to everyone, and they'll feel your love. You can also support them or demonstrate your appreciation of them by coming to the Best Restored Shore session this afternoon at 2:50 Eastern Time. And in that session, the members of each of the winning teams will be talking about their projects, and together we'll all be discussing some of the important lessons learned. So please join us. I guarantee that you'll not only be inspired, but you'll learn a lot, and you'll take away information that will help you build your coastal restoration project smarter, faster, and better. And you'll probably be really competitive for next year's award or the one after. So thank you again to our winners of the awards. Thank you all for attending this award ceremony. And I just want to add one last plug. If one day you do come across and meet one of the winners, say thanks for their leadership and consider buying them a drink of their choice. and I hope I see you at 250.